Mr. Rice, we're ready when you are.
All right, I call meeting of May 10th, 2023 to order. We'll begin with the pledge to flag.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Chen, with the call roll, please.
Mrs. Vance Clemens?
Here.
Mrs. Petisky?
Here.
Mrs. Blomgren?
Here.
Mrs. Chaikin?
Here.
Mr. Cormack?
Here.
Mrs. Cullen? Mr. Rice?
Here.
Mr. Russell?
Here.
Mr. Wurs?
Here.
Mr. Rice, if it makes sense, we have multiple families and students who are here for recognition as part of the reports. And so I'd like to suggest that we take the President's report, the Superintendent's report, and the Student Liaison report and handle those prior to public comment, since none of them would involve a voting item.
That would be fine, thank you. All right. President's report. As we are quickly approaching graduation day for many seniors, I ask that we take a little walk down memory lane. It was only 13 years ago when you, the seniors, started this journey, your first big chapter in life called school. Beginning in preschool, kindergarten, first grade, all the way through this final year, your senior year, all the friends, memories, laughs, and tears, you've made it to the end of this chapter in life, and now soon to start the next chapter. How awesome is that? The many chapters you will begin and write are here right before you. The pages are blank, ready for your personalized journeys. They may be as simple as, thank God I made it, wow, onward to college. They may be as simple as, I can't wait to go to basic training to start to serve my country. I'm finally going to be able to work 40-hour work week and bring home a real paycheck. No matter which path you take, it should be yours and yours alone. Obviously one that is best suited to your unique personality, liking, and always enjoy what you're doing. Whether you choose to stay the course, change your direction in that journey, or go full steam ahead, it will be your journey. Make it a great one. Look back and learn from the memories to help you focus on your future. Your past will give you the insight to help you make the best decision for your future, continuously learning from any fumbles along the way. Enjoy the last few weeks of this chapter with your friends so it can be a positive memory in your book of life. That is my report.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Mr. McCullough, if you call the slideshow, please. Thank you. First, I hope that some of you were able to, as you came in, to attend the other big event that was happening just down the hallway this evening. We were proud to host our first annual Community Information Night, which was presented by the Penridge Pupil Services Advisory Council, which is a brand new group this year in Penridge. There were opportunities for students and families to learn about other community services, behavior supports, after-school activities, supports for 18 to 21-year-old individuals, all available in the Penridge community. We had representatives from New Hope all the way through Quakertown that were here, families that came to learn. We're already looking forward to next year's event and providing even more opportunities like these for our students, our parents, and community members. We'd like to thank the 33 vendors who agreed to attend and share information with our community tonight. We are midway through week 2 of our 2 weeks of teacher appreciation this year, and we wanted to take a moment to thank all of the home and school parent groups for the numerous ways that they have showed their support for all of our teachers and staff over the last 2 weeks. I tend to visit buildings when there's a luncheon. As we'd also like to, last meeting we recognized and thanked the more than 24 local businesses who joined for the first ever coupon collaboration and the other gifts that they gave to our staff. Once again, we are so thankful for our teachers and we appreciate everything they have done and continue to do for our children and their families every day. We recently held our annual April Showers event at the high school, and it was another huge success for our unified sports program. Hundreds of Penridge High School students and staff took part in 2 different sessions of showers that were provided by several of our local fire companies that even had firefighters that were from our students as well as our staff members as part of the local companies. A total of almost $18,000 was raised and will benefit both the Penridge Special Olympics team as well as the Bucks County and Pennsylvania Special Olympics programs. There is a wonderful video of the event that can be found on the Penridge YouTube channel, which is entitled The Ridge Channel. Please check it out. As we previewed last month, there have been numerous Penridge, Quakertown, and Palisades students who attend the Upper Bucks County Career and Technical School that did unbelievably well in the Skills USA competition. I am thankful to introduce tonight Dr. Michael Herrera, who is the Executive Director of the Tech School. I have invited him here to come down and have asked him to introduce you to some of the Penridge students who have excelled in those programs, and it seems as though he also brought a robot with him. So Dr. Herrera, I'll turn it over to you.
Sorry. Good.
There you go.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Bolton, members of Penridge Board of Education, and our members of the Upper Bucks County Joint Operating Committee. Hi, I'm Michael Herrera. I'm the proud Executive Director of Upper Bucks County Technical School. We appreciate being part of your community and the opportunity to showcase and highlight our many students that are being recognized and that I see in the audience. So this year, we have a regional Skills USA competition, which I'm proud to say we had the single most dominant performance in the last 10 years. Our students then went to the state competition and represented our school and your community very, very well. And we have students that are moving on to the national competition in Atlanta, June 19th through the 23rd. One of the students I'd also like to recognize tonight that I don't see in the audience is Jake Gilbert, who was a senior in our welding and fabrication program. He placed first in the district competition. Oh, there he is. Great.
Here comes Jake.
Yeah.
There you go. Thanks, man.
And Jake, please stand. You deserve to be recognized. Jake is a first honor student and received the program's most dedicated and outstanding Level 1 award. I knew he wasn't going to let me down. He's also a cooperative education student employed at Hartman Systems and Controls and will be the UBCTS May Student of the Month. We have an unbelievable school to work program. Jacob is one out of 115 students that have worked over 35,000 hours in the community, working for over 100 companies. So again, his responsibility, many responsibilities there. Jacob is also a goalie on the varsity team, which won states last year, and the Flyers Cup second place this year. Jacob, after winning the competition, went right to his hockey game that same night. Cool, calm, and collected, like you see him in front of me. And we're proud to recognize his accomplishments. Jacob Gilbert. Jules Strauss, if you could please stand. Jules is a senior in our auto collision program. He placed first in the Skills USA district and state competition in action skills and is competing at the national conference in June. So our students are technicians. They understand the how behind their field of study, but they also understand the why. And the action skills competition evaluates contestants' ability to demonstrate and explain a skill used in their field of study. So we're very appreciative of Jules. We wish him good luck. Maybe there's an international competition. It's every 4 years, we don't know, but the sky's the limit for Jules Strauss. Sage Sosminski. Okay, thanks. He's a senior in our mechatronics program. He placed first in the district and state competition in related technical math and is competing at the national conference in June. So our students are proficient in the technical, the employability, and also academics. And Sage has been very instrumental in developing an automated farming system through a grant in support of Penridge and the community with St. Gobain. He will also represent us at the BattleBot competition, the upcoming, which we won last year. No pressure, Sage. After graduation, Sage plans to attend college and pursue a career. And although at this point, electromechanical engineer, you also have a couple other potential majors. You want to say those?
I'm also looking into fields in robotics and computer science in general. Not very decided yet.
Would you like to explain the farm bot?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
So today we have the farm bot that we've been building in my mechatronics class that we were able to do thanks to the grant from St. Gobain. We have had quite the experience trying to put this together and acquiring materials for everything, and it's been really fun. Right here is just a prototype. The actual one's going to be 2 times the size in both width, height, and length. What it will do is we'll plant seeds in a plot of soil, water them, monitor their growth, take care of weeds, and just automate everything we can within that plot. And I'm really excited to make this work. Unfortunately, we're having some technical difficulties, so I can't demonstrate it today.
Not necessarily with the machine, we just didn't bring the password. It works. So I don't know if members of the Board of Ed, if there's any questions or... Go.
This way, here it's camera. Come on, about the tech bot here. Come on, take away from the farm. There we go. Huddle around it. There we go.
Take you in the middle.
Okay. All right, ready? Ready, you guys? Ready? 1, 2, and 3. We got it. All right.
Congratulations.
So Sage is going to be a senior next year, and I've gotten to know him pretty well with all of his hard work on these robotics and getting the grant money for the tech school, and really smart, dedicated kid. And we were talking about his pathway moving forward, and he was looking at robotics and engineering together. And one of the things that limited him, he really needed these high-end math courses. And one of the things that by changing the graduation requirements for next year, he's now able to take those additional math classes instead of being required to take a social studies class instead. So he's really thankful and appreciative that now he can reach that pathway. And he also was considering not attending a tech school next year because he can't take all the classes that he needs in addition to going to tech. So there's a lot of out-of-the-box thinking with being able to do the dual enrollment we've been talking about, with him being able to take dual enrollment at Bucks and having that flexibility in his schedule so that someone who's actually going for a career in robotics can take robotics at the technical school, which is so amazing for him to be able to put those pieces together and have that flexibility. So I'm glad that his pathway is opened up for him and he's able to have that flexibility to be successful in that.
The next young man that we're recognizing is from North Middle School, and he has made a habit of winning ribbons and medals wherever he goes. I'd like to introduce you to David Duderty. David, if you'd come on down. He's a 7th grader at North. He is an expert when it comes to handling an alpaca. David is a 4-H state ambassador for Pennsylvania and has been named Best in Showmanship, Handling Obstacles, and dozens of other awards. Unfortunately, David's alpaca morning glory is here in picture but is not able to attend tonight. But David and his parents are here. We'd like to celebrate his accomplishments. Congratulations. All right, David, while Mr. Rice is coming, tell us that this is the biggest one, so tell us why you won the biggest one. Reserve Grand Champion for what? Okay. So second to best out of, and how many alpacas would we raise? Worship down, count 1, 2, 3. All right, never mind.
Go. Ready, 1, 2, 3. We got it. Good job.
Did you ever see it? Did you ever see it? Okay. Up here.
Scott Miles are welcome.
I'm sure you have lots of ribbon pictures. You get in next to this.
Okay, got it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Good job, guys. Thank you.
Congratulations. Next, I'd like to recognize our governor's STEM competition team. They also did well at the state level. The governor's STEM competition requires students to produce a prototype that can help improve life for Pennsylvanians. Our Penridge team constructed a pollinator drone to help address the decline in pollinator and bee species throughout Pennsylvania and the United States. One of the goals of the competition is to partner with local businesses and industries as they construct their prototypes. I'd like to introduce our team members as well as their advisor. Please welcome and congratulate Devin Fort, Sophia Gukel, Lily Kessler, Emily Sabella, Noah Van Burden, and Miss Melissa O'Brien, their advisory and a high school biology teacher. Who has the loudest voice? No, you need to tell us something. You have the best voice?
Maybe.
So tell us about the drone, because it looks like a bee. You can't see it. The picture makes it, you can see it in the picture. So tell us about the drone and what it does and
All right.
yeah.
So,
Whatever you can do in 60 seconds.
60 seconds.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
So bees are the only pollinators specified in collecting pollen. Currently, there is a major decline in bees all around the United States and Pennsylvania. So we decided to create a bee drone that is able to pick up and collect pollen and spread it all around
Plans.
all sorts of plants. It's a lot of pressure.
Great.
And so if anything were to happen to bees or any other pollinators, we do have a backup plan. Although it's a very sad backup plan, it is something that we have to think of. There's a lot of things that could happen to bees, including climate change, invasive species, those are just a few. There's a lot of different things that could happen to bees, and they're so small, it's just, you never know, and we always have to have a backup plan.
Congratulations. I also wanted to recognize the fact that there are so many things we're proud of in Penridge, but one of the things we're proud of in Penridge is really the hard work by our educators at every level. The students in Penridge get such an amazing STEM experience, starting in elementary school and all the way through high school. And even though this is only one team and one competition, it speaks to that support that our teachers and our students get to experience every year in STEM. So thank you for that. Finally, I'd like to introduce you to Priyana Kant. Priyana Kant has been a speller forever. She was in her first spelling bee in 4th grade at Grass Elementary, and she has not looked back since. From 5th grade through 8th grade, she has won every Penridge spelling bee that we could sponsor, and has represented Penridge at both the regional and national level. Her next sights are set on winning the Scripps National Spelling Bee. She'll be our representative in Washington, D.C. later this month, and she's working on memorizing more than 4,000 words, as well as all those roots, prefixes, suffixes, and definitions. We want to say congratulations and good luck to Priyana. Parents are here, right? Here, we got one without them. All right. Got it. Yeah. All right. Stand here, parents. You want one on your phone? He's a professional. You're good. You have plenty of things. We'll send.
Don't forget the sister.
You got plenty. Good job.
She said last week in May, Ion Chapter. So check her out. Okay? Congratulations. Last, I'd like to thank and also wish well our student liaison. This will be Carissa McDonald's last student liaison report. Carissa has supported us and been here almost every month all year, and has represented the board and as well as student council in her reports, and we want to wish her well. Carissa will be graduating in almost exactly a month. She'll be attending Franklin and Marshall next year, majoring in chemistry, and she hopes to be doing some serious research when she graduates. So we just want to thank and show our appreciation to Carissa.
Well, thank you very much for the honor, Dr. Bolton, and it has been an honor to serve as Student Council's liaison throughout the past year. As from Student Council, we are disappointed to announce our Mr. Penridge event has been canceled due to unfortunate circumstances. However, we are still planning events for the end of the year to try to engage the rest of the student body. But we look to our other wonderful clubs throughout the district, and some of them, like Minithon, having their big main event at the end of the year on May 20th. And also, Executive Council is organizing senior events, including the Senior Sunrise, breakfast, and walking throughout the elementary schools for the first time to celebrate our graduates. Also, the junior prom was this past weekend, for which many of our high school juniors have thoroughly enjoyed. And I would like to give a huge thank you to our teachers and faculty, considering it is Teacher Appreciation Week, and for all of their hard work throughout the year in spite of recent events. And as a final reflection, as this is my last liaison's report, I am a third generation Penridge student, and Penridge Proud has been drilled into my blood since childbirth. However, we cannot do so without a solid foundation. And in light of recent changes to our curriculum, our faculty and students are now feeling concerned and blindsided and worried for our futures. And it is in the school board's power and the community to bond together and strengthen the foundation that has supported me throughout my education journey. Thank you.
Moving on to public comment. All right. According to policy 903, public comment, which is limited to 3 minutes, should be directed to the presiding officer rather than individual board members, district employees, or members of the public. For confidentiality and privacy rights, specific comments regarding particular individuals must be communicated privately to the school board and superintendent via email at psdschoolboard@penridge.org. First up, Carolyn Sharana, and next on deck is going to be Michael Jones. Michaela? Oh, my apologies.
Sorry, Carolyn, hold on one second.
Hi, Carolyn Sharino, Hilltown Township. I would like to take my time to talk about an amazing teacher that my daughter has had at Seiler Elementary. However, before I do that, I would like to highlight that the teacher staff overall at Seiler Elementary is wonderful. I could go on about how Mrs. Samuels takes the time to get to know her students, to better educate them, and how Mrs. Scogan is always looking for better and positive ways to incorporate and encourage reading to all the students. Seiler has exceptional teachers who go the extra mile. In specific, I would like to highlight Mrs. Ruggiero and how she's a teacher who goes above and beyond for each of her students every day. She makes sure every child has what they need to succeed in her class. On many occasions, she has paid for items for the class out of her own pocket. Mrs. Ruggiero not only supports her students in class, but makes an effort to get to know the parents of her students and attend her students' extracurricular events and activities for support. Mrs. Ruggiero is an exemplary teacher, and she is what Penridge needs and our students deserve. Mrs. Ruggiero is only one example of the amazing teachers we have here in Penridge. Mrs. Ruggiero and her other Penridge teachers need to be appreciated and compensated for the above and beyond work they do for our children. Teachers are in shortage, and we need to make sure we as a district do what we can to keep our wonderful teachers in our district. Our teachers and students deserve to be respected and given what they deserve. I believe it is safe to say that we all want the best education for our children, and in return, we need to make sure that we are compensating the teachers for their hard work competitively and giving them the respect they deserve. Thank you.
Michaela Jones, and next up, Emma Nagami.
Michaela Jones, Berkshire Borough. In honor of Teacher Appreciation Week and in support of my teachers, I would like to talk about some of mine. Mrs. Brown was my biology teacher last year. After a hard year of science during 8th grade, her class was a breath of fresh air. She took the time to carefully explain each and every topic and make sure we had everything we needed. Whether it was help taking notes or a pencil, she was there. I now want to talk about my history teachers, Mr. Cousino and Mrs. Grice. All throughout my life, I've been interested in history. The eagerness to learn more grew more in 8th grade, and luckily for me, I had Mrs. Grice. She took notice and was able to cultivate, nurture, and help me learn more about different topics. She took the time out of her day to find different programs and opportunities for the both of us to learn more through the Gilder Lehrman Institute. Each week, after the Zoom, we would come in and talk about the things that we found interesting and what we wondered about. She was the only teacher to do this to me and left a lasting impact. Last but not least, Mr. Cousino. He is my history teacher this year and has helped me grow so much academically. After a rough essay or if anyone needed help with something, his door was always open. He sat down with me and explained things and went over things with me on many occasions. He was the only history teacher who told me I was too hard on myself after one not so great essay, and that meant something to me. While I didn't mention all the teachers, each one has a positive impact in students' lives.
And next up, Matt Carbonaro.
Hi, I'm Emma Nagami, and I'm a 7th grader at Central Middle School. I have been attending Penridge schools since kindergarten. I live in Hilltown, and I'm speaking to the agenda item of personnel. I have had many wonderful teachers during my years at Penridge and loved my years at Siler. Today I would like to take time to highlight and thank some of the amazing Central teachers that helped me grow and learn these last 2 years. If I were to describe Mrs. Stellino in one word, it would be marvelous. Mrs. Stellino puts her full effort into helping us look and sound good as a chorus, as well as supporting us and encouraging us as people. Every year, the students in 7th and 8th grade are eligible to audition for BCMEA, which is Bucks County Music Education Association. It is an honor to be accepted and to represent Penridge School District. Mrs. Stellino uses her free time both before and after school to run rehearsals for us to be prepared for the auditions and then for the performance in March. Mrs. Stellino also challenges us with special projects to help us grow in skill and confidence. She listens to our ideas and encourages us to try new things. I am so thankful that she is my teacher. Mrs. Vicki Bobstein and Mrs. Lauren Smith are the directors of our musical at Central. They dedicate countless hours after school rehearsing with us. Without their support and dedication, we may not have a musical at all. Mrs. Jenna Smith, who is a Siler teacher, also came after school to help choreograph the dance numbers. It is amazing to me that these teachers will go so far out of the way so students can have amazing experiences here at Penridge and so that we can share our talents with our community. I would also like to thank Mr. Dillingham. He has helped me think more creatively about research projects and how to be more collaborative with others. Mr. Dillingham creates a great atmosphere in our class. We feel open to share our ideas with him and each other. He trusts us to work independently and to explore ideas on our own. And that trust has helped me feel more confident and excited about learning. We talk a lot in Penridge about Penridge Positive and Penridge Proud. As a student, I have been involved in events that were considered part of being Penridge Proud, and it is an amazing feeling. I feel like our teachers were such a big part of our Penridge Proud moments. We would have less of these moments if it were not for them, their dedication, and the fact that they care about their students so much. Thank you to them for being amazing, and thank you all for listening.
Matt Carbonaro and Melissa Fink up on deck. Matt Carbonaro, and next up on deck, Melissa Fink.
Good evening, Matt Carbonaro, Percy Borough. I want to commend the board on the bathroom policy that was first read last month. Policy itself shouldn't have been this much scrutiny. In my opinion, you're either born a girl or you're born a boy. It's pretty simple science. It's going down a slippery slope to allow men into girls' bathrooms and vice versa. I applaud Penridge on this move because a similar situation of this happened in Loudoun County, Virginia about approximately 2 years ago, and this could have happened at the school. It's dangerous and it's just wrong. I also want to thank the board on the proposed budget. If passed, it will lower taxes for a 7th consecutive year, holding true to your commitment of fiscal responsibility. Finally, I am torn with the contract for $1 million that is being out there. While I applaud the board for looking to incorporate civics, this contract, however, was rushed in my opinion, like Policy 217 was rushed as well. It's not that I don't agree with the contract, I actually do, but it's also important to keep bias out of the classroom. Going back to fiscal responsibility and keeping your promises. You should be more upfront with what you're doing and have contracts that are more defined for the taxpayers and the community at hand. Thanks.
Melissa Fink. Next up, Laura Foster on deck.
I am Melissa Fink. This coming fall, we will have 5 of our children attending Penridge schools. I will have a graduating senior, a sophomore in the men's soccer team, an 8th grader at South who will be playing soccer and basketball, as well as a 3rd grader and a kindergartner at Guth. There is clearly a large number of Penridge educators that have worked with the Fink kids. I could stand here all evening and list countless things that each and every one of them has done for our kids. I'm limited in time, and so here is the highlights. There is Mr. Bach, a South Middle School. He took the time out of his schedule to focus in on our oldest Kendall when she was in 6th grade. He worked with her several times weekly outside of class to make sure that she was solid in the basics so that her struggles in current math level weren't so overwhelming. He gave a child who had decided she was just awful at math a do-over, and since then she has never had
had less than a B+ in math as her final grade. He gave her the gift of time and confidence. Thank you, Mr. Bach. There is Erica Walsh, an English teacher at the high school. This woman sends parents emails consistently as to what she's excited to be teaching our kids in class. She provides us with dinner conversation talking points pertaining to her class. She emailed us both separately about our son Ethan, who is reserved and quiet, to let us know that he did a wonderful job in class that day reading aloud. She gave the kid tremendous credit for merely reading aloud because she was recognized that he could use it, which in turn was a gift of encouragement. Thank you, Mrs. Walsh. There is a reading specialist at Guth, Sue Hansen. This woman is a literal magician. Our Morgan could not and would not read. Morgan is probably known as the shyest and most timid student at Guth. This woman honed in on this child and created not only a reader, but a resilient student who doesn't give up when she's behind or when she's confused. This woman has spoken to each teacher Morgan has had since kindergarten, before Morgan has even stepped into the classroom, so that they too can help Morgan be her best self. And Morgan has flourished in her short time at Guth, so much so that she doesn't meet with Mrs. Hansen any longer. Thank you, Mrs. Hansen, you gave Morgan her light. And there is Brittany Grudy, our son Jake's teacher in COVID. Jake got little more than half a year with this woman before the shutdown, and when the world felt like it stopped spinning, Brittany kept going. It was seamless. There was not one piece missing from 4th grade thanks to her, besides a trip to Hershey, which Jake still wants me to tell you, Dr. Bolton, he is still owed. This teacher rallied hard and avoided defeat and evoked pride in her students. And because of her, Jake was unaffected in a time when he understandably could have been. She was basically Jake's pandemic hero. Thank you, Mrs. Greedy. The list is so long. Teachers, coaches, principals, specialists, counselors that my teacher would want me to thank. Marie Jones, a literal saint. Jen Butler for solving our Morgan puzzle daily. Mr./Coach Rapp, you believe in the Finks and have Kendall first period. Enough said. Matt Arnold, 3-time Fink favorite coach and teacher. Krista Sheldon, a guidance counselor coming in clutch time and time again. Matt Smith, easily the most devoted leader and educator I have ever met. And my girl Heather Landis, sitting out there with you. You want someone to pick as their favorite teacher? If they had her, it's her. Her life is teaching our kids. Recognize it. There is countless more. I feel like I'm giving an Oscar speech and the orchestra is going to start playing over me. But these people are the glue in your district that the board is to represent. They are worthy of praise, and they are worthy of time, and they are worthy of respect and negotiation and consideration. Without them, without their expert insight on curriculums, my kids have nothing in this district. Consider humility, it certainly looks good on them.
Laura Foster, next up, Katie Renee.
Laura Foster, East Rock Hill Township. On April 26th of this year, the Penridge School Board approved an open-ended contract with Vermillion Education to revise the K-12 curricula, including but not contractually limited to social studies. This was done despite unified feedback from the community, teachers, and 4 of 9 board members who opposed the contract. This is an unacceptable movement, and the concerned citizens of Penridge demand that the contract with Vermillion Education be terminated.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
This item is not an agenda item.
I put it under.
It's not.
It's under old business.
Ms. Foster, this item is not an agenda item.
I was getting down to teachers.
Okay.
Just hold on. It'll get there. It's in the meeting notes, yeah. So can you reset my time? Can I start over? Okay, thank you. So we have deep concern over the actions over the school board. First and foremost, we expect high quality and properly vetted services for our schools. Our students and teachers deserve the highest standards for any consultants hired to improve our schools' programs and curricula. It is unacceptable for a contractor whose firm was established 5 months ago with limited teaching experience and no consulting experience in public schools to be hired to rewrite the K-12 curriculum. Second, we expect transparency from our school board. No school board member should be able to add a curriculum impacting contract to the agenda only 24 hours prior to a school board meeting. Further, no school proposal should be added without the knowledge of every board member to the public. This is a blatant attempt to push personal agendas without proper scrutiny. Third, we expect the first fiscal responsibility of our school.
If you could listen for one moment. I apologize for interrupting, but the first session of the public comment is limited to those items that are on the agenda for the evening.
Ask the chair. Ask the chair.
This item is not on the agenda for this evening.
It's part of the notes, right?
There,
It's a part of
there
our
is
business.
there is a second public comment period at the end of the meeting.
Yeah, no.
That's more encompassing. But the first public said, Sir, if I could speak, please don't interrupt again.
She speak?
Sir,
Yeah,
sir,
I'd
we
like
won't-
to speak, so I'm going to speak. Thank you.
Sir, we won't continue with the
You're interrupting me,
interruption, sir.
so I'm going to ask you to stop speaking.
We won't continue with the interruption, sir. Okay, we ask you not to interrupt, okay?
The previous speaker spoke about the million as well. I'm speaking about the teachers. Hold on, I'll get there. Thank you. Third, we expect fiscal
You are
responsibility
out of
from
order.
our board.
You're
I'm
out of
not-
order.
Because I
And
feel
if
like
you
this
don't
is
stop, the security is going to come in.
really.
This is getting ridiculous.
There are two sessions of public comment on the agenda.
Yeah.
So
what happens under old business?
The first piece is
What happens under
the
old
first piece
business?
is for agenda items.
Well, let me
okay?
ask you this then.
If
So if
you
you're-
would like to comment on agenda items,
I'm asking about an agenda item
Okay.
as this falls under old business.
Mr. Rice, I'd like to call for a recess, please.
Recess.
I'll stay and wait, thanks.
Mr. Thomas, if you would let us know the live stream set up. Mr. Thomas, would you let us know the live stream is back on? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you do not know Mr. Scogel. Mr. Scogel is also from Mr. Miller's firm, and he's serving as our solicitor tonight. During the recess, I've asked if Mr. Scogel would make sure that he goes through and explains the rules clearly in terms of expectations for public comment. Obviously, expectations in terms of behavior from both anyone in the room, right, regardless of where they're sitting and what role they have, is that during public comment, right, people are to be able to give their public comment without interruption, without screaming over, without, right, regardless of. That's one of the things that the Penridge community has shown itself to be strong with. Over many meetings where there have been differing opinions, public comment has been able to be presented for the most part without people interrupting and yelling over and getting into those types of things. I'm going to ask Mr. Scogel to explain the rules clearly. My hope, right, and I think it's the hope of everyone in the room, is that we will then choose to self-regulate and follow those rules in terms of what your intentions are in terms of public comment and the content as he explains those types of things. We obviously have contingencies in plan if people are not following the rules, and so we'll give you warnings, right? We'll do all the good teacher stuff in terms of asking to make sure that you do self-modulate from that standpoint. We do not want to take another recess and delay the meeting any further, but we cannot get through a meeting where no one can be heard because people are speaking over top of each other and not being given the opportunity. So I'm going to ask Mr. Scogel if he would explain those, and then we'll move forward with the first section of public comment.
Thank you, Dr. Bolton. As Dr. Bolton said, my name is Kevin Scogel. I'm with Eckerd Siemens Law Firm. We're here tonight for a public meeting. It's an important public meeting. There's a lot of folks here, and we're pleased about that. As part of this public meeting, the board is offering 2 pieces of public comment. One at the beginning of the meeting that we're dealing with now, and one at the end of the meeting. The first public comment period will be a time to comment on agenda items. Those are items on which the board will be voting this evening. If you have a comment and you're signed up for public comment and you wish to address an issue that is not before the board for voting this evening, we ask that you hold your comment until the second period. What we will be doing is based on the public comment sign-in sheet. We will be discussing with each person who has signed up whether they will be commenting on one of the issues on which the board will be voting this evening. If the person is not commenting on a agenda item on which the board is voting, that person can hold their public comment and the board will welcome that comment during the second period. We've had a number of instances so far of members of the audience shouting at the board, speaking loudly at the board and not listening to my direction to maintain a sense of decorum at the meeting. We ask that everyone here maintains respect, maintains a sense of decorum, so that we can get through this meeting, so that each of the folks that wish to offer a public comment can do so, and so that the board can hear and accept the comments of the public. This works when we work together, and we ask all of you for your respect here this evening to abide by our rules, which I think are pretty fair and pretty standard. So with that said, we are going to address the items on the public comment sheet by topic. And the first topic that we will address is the budget. And I call Emily Smith to the lectern.
I'm sorry, can I just...
No, you may not. Emily Smith, please.
Hey, just to comment a little, I want to apologize again for wasting a half hour of your time. There was no safety issues. There was no reason to stop that. And it shows a lack of respect for the community. And that's all.
Thank you very much. If we could have Emily Smith to the lectern, please. Miss Smith.
Excuse me, are you cutting me off? Are you cutting me off? Yeah, how can you do that? Are you out of order?
Ron, you're out of order. You want a spectacle.
I am allowed to talk during the public comment period.
Are you the public? No, you're not. You're out of order.
Oh, really?
You want to comment
during old business or new business. You're out
No.
of order. Let the public speak.
I'm allowed to comment during public.
No, you're not.
We
You're out
have
of order.
always
You
allowed
obviously
that.
don't understand Robert's Rules of Order at all.
No, many times people have spoken to answer the public, and they're allowed to do that.
Board members, if we could move forward with the public comment period. Emily Smith, please approach the lectern.
I'm sorry,
Emily Smith,
I'm
please.
just curious why
So I
you
do want
said-
to apologize for wasting our time, because it shows a lack of respect for the community, which we're doing again right now.
Emily Smith, please.
Yeah, my apologies
And
that
you-
this was, my apologies.
You
for
will have an
misspeaking
opportunity to
before.
provide a public comment. I'm asking you now to step away from the lectern so Emily Smith can approach. If you can't follow our directions, we'll have to ask security to have you removed.
I would just like to
That
say,
is
as I
unbelievable.
walk out, that it's interesting that my comment was the one that was taken down, where someone before me
Emily,
spoke about
Emily Smith, please.
criminal
Thank you.
damage. Talking about teacher appreciation, none of which got cut off.
Emily.
Good evening. It's been fun so far. I would like to talk this evening about some spending issues I have with the school board. I'd like to address the lack of professionalism, disorganization, and hypocrisy of the school board. We have board members scheming behind the backs of other members, working out secret deals, and trading favors for votes. One of these secret deals was to bring Jordan Adams on as a consultant. He's going to be paid an exorbitant amount of money to the work we already pay teachers and administrators to do. Is it your plan to cut funding for the people doing this work now? Do you want to use our community's tax dollars to take away local jobs and pay an outsider to come in here and tell our children what to think?
Ms. Smith, does this have to do with the budget that's a voting item this evening?
Sure, it's part of the budget, isn't it? I mean, that would be part of the budget.
Anything that is spent by the, first of all, you're wasting my time. Second of all, anything that is spent by the school district is in the budget, is it not? This board is micromanaging every aspect of this district, overruling decisions made by administrators they themselves chose.
Ms. Smith, is there items that are part of the budget
You
that are
are-
before?
The Sunshine Law allows us to comment on anything on the agenda, not anything that you choose to have us comment on. While I know Mr. Skogel is the highest paid person in this entire district based on his $250 an hour contract, he's made 12 or many tens of thousands of dollars off of us. It's ridiculous. This board is micromanaging every aspect of this district, obviously. Overruling decisions made by administrators they themselves chose. You've created vague policies that have led to massive amounts of school board oversight and administrative burden. You have decided that you need to control every tiny detail of what a child experiences at school instead of allowing parents, trusted administrators, and teachers to make some of those decisions. You have chosen control over choice. For example, the NOVA Safe Touch presentation is not contentious and should not be labeled a controversial topic that needs board approval because one lazy parent can't be bothered to check their notifications. 2 years ago, this board was apparently absolutely fine with pornography when Bob Cormack openly admitted that he used government resources, i.e. your tax dollars, to email explicit pornography photographs to other men who worked for the county. This is completely fine, but puppets talking about their bathing suit area is considered porn. Your hypocrisy is astounding.
Ms. Smith,
I am
this
almost
isn't-
finished.
This isn't-
Why don't you all
Ms. Smith,
indulge your petty squabbles
Ms. Smith,
and
if
your...
you could please stop for one moment. If you could please stop for one moment.
You're wasting
This doesn't have to do with the budget.
Yes,
With the
I'm
items
almost
that
done.
are with the items that are being voted on this evening. if you have comments about
I'm
other,
almost done. Thank you.
ma'am, if you could listen to me, please.
I understand what you're saying.
If you,
While you all indulge-
ma'am, I'm asking you, I'm asking you to stop for a moment, okay, and listen. We have 2 public comment periods.
I understand.
The first public comment period has to do with items
Thank you.
that are
We're
ma'am,
on the agenda.
Ma'am,
if you could show me in the sunshine law where it says it has to be something that's currently being voted on, I would appreciate
If we can
that.
have security, come down, please. I'm not asking them to remove you, I'm asking you to listen.
I'm listening,
I'm
and I'm
asking you to
telling you
listen
you're
and not
wrong.
speak over me. I'm asking you not to speak over me. Okay? What we have to do, we have 2 periods. We have 2 periods of public comment. One has to do with items that
Can
were
you
being
continue to waste time? It's fine.
Next time you speak over me, I'm going to ask you to be removed. Okay?
Do you have that right?
Mrs. Smith, I'm going to ask you to choose to make sure that we're going to behave the way that we expect everyone in the room to.
How about you?
Miss Smith, you signed up to talk about budget.
Yes, I would like to talk about
Ms.
money
Smith.
being spent.
Miss Smith, please hear me out because I'm hearing you out, right? Miss Smith, you asked to sign up for budget. There is opportunity to talk about other related things if you'd like to. So if your comments involve both budget and other related things, because some of the things you've spoken about have been budget. Ms. Smith, please let me finish. Thank you. You need to look at your comments. The things that have to do with budget, you can speak to now. The other things you can come back up at the end and speak to. I'm not saying you can't say them. What I'm saying is that we've clearly explained the rules. We're going to expect everyone to follow them. And getting into the back and forth isn't going to help us get through public comment and hear one another. So we're going to need to choose to follow those rules.
It would have
Ms.
been
Smith,
over
please let
if
me
you
finish.
hadn't interrupted me repeatedly.
Ms. Smith, please make sure that the remainder of your comments have to do with budget. If they do not, please choose to self-select and present them
I'm
at the
almost
end like
done.
everyone has asked, okay? Thank you.
While you indulge your petty squabbles and your obsession with porn, our district is falling further and further behind. This may be some kind of game to everyone on. But for me, this is the school I graduated from, where my children go. This district is the heart of our community, and you are actively destroying it instead of focusing on improving it. You've spent hours and hours arguing, like you are tonight, about surveys and stickers, even in the face of community dissent. What about the fiscal responsibility? The value of my home is tied to the reputation of this district. And I have to sit here and watch you fight about personal political agendas and infighting instead of talking about our test scores and rankings. You're destroying our reputation, and the value of my home will fall with it. There's more of them.
Christina Hicks, please. Christina Hicks. Is Christina Hicks here? Okay. I don't see Christina Hicks. Ross McLennan. Ross McLennan, please.
Talk about budget. Did you have an agenda item that they skipped over?
Okay, we seem to be skipping over some people.
Ross McLennan, you're here to speak on the budget, is that correct?
Ross McLennan, Hilltown.
And you're here to speak on the budget?
That's correct.
Please keep your comments limited to the budget and the agenda items on which the board will vote on this evening.
Okay.
You have 3 minutes.
You want to cut me off yet? Am I good? Okay. I see that the 2023 Finance Committee notes are up now. Thank you. I spoke on Monday asking where they were. They're there. I still don't see any reference to, I don't want to say that word, vermicelli, I guess, not mentioned at all. It was brought up in the meeting April 11th and suddenly added to your monthly as a separate line item. No prior discussions, no limits to the costs. It's signed off on. How is that being incorporated into the budget? Okay? I do not see how you're incorporating that into the budget. How did you find out about a 4-month-old company from Michigan?
And what does this have to do with the budget?
At the last board meeting, the solicitor acknowledged having reviewed the Vermicelli contract. When did that happen?
Again, has nothing to do with the budget.
I'm sorry, Megan, what did you say? What was that? It's uncomfortable.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. It's very uncomfortable. Thank you very much.
I wanted to answer to the speaker who lost, because since you brought up Vermilion, no, actually you always answer people from the audience when people, I've heard you do it many, many times, so I'm not sure why I'm not allowed to do that. You're very open to speaking when people speak in public comment, so I've heard it many times, so I'm not sure why I'm not allowed to do it. So we were talking about it is Vermilion. I did a little research because we had been provided no information from the board of what they were doing. So I did get a hold of the letter that they sent to another district offering these services, which I was curious where they came from. And some that they do is they sit in and insist on candidate interviews to create a strategic long-term plan for our district. These are services they offer. To write curriculum for the faculty, to write press releases for the public, to teach our faculty how to write curriculum, and to teach our administration how to write policies. These are all things that they have in their letter of introduction, which I've never seen. And also to vet outside businesses, contractors, vendors, and anybody else who comes into the district. So included in one of their core principles is, let me finish. Let me finish. You do not, I am not out of order. Megan always answers people in public comment.
Ron, she always does it after public comment, always, after public comment.
No, not always.
Yes, she does.
No.
Let them go through their comments,
So-
and then you can comment.
It said one of their mottos is, students should not be used by political parties or ideologies. Unfortunately, that's what our board is doing. So I don't know why we're working with these people, but I'm not going to wait till my turn.
Lee Rash, please. Leah Rash, please. Leah Rash. Ms. Rash, you have listed as your topic this evening policy. Can you please identify for the board what policy you wish to speak on this evening?
20 or 235.1 and the bathroom policy, which are up for vote.
Very good. Thank you.
So the first policy, 235.1, which I guess is like a new version of the surveys, still needs a lot of work. I mean, watching the meeting on Monday, you are not in agreement. You are not organized around this. It is not even ready for a first read. It still mixes in controversial issues, but now it is just called surveys, so that's very confusing. In the authority section, it states the board will approve the initial development of instructional programs as well as any minor or major changes. Why is that in a policy about surveys? It's very overreaching. How do you propose to manage the approval of all these things when you're not functioning that well and it takes a long time to get any decisions? Why are you inserting yourselves to this level, and what are your qualifications? Controversial issues definition is still too subjective, largely because you link it to personal beliefs. There are as many personal beliefs as there are people on this planet. You can't define it. You're opening the district up for lots of problems with everyone's opinion on what these are. Have you done any assessment on the time and resources this will waste to maintain? You've made this statement without thinking through how it will actually play out, but you've just laid it at the feet of the teachers and the staff to figure out, and they will be the ones hung out to dry when this doesn't work, because you've protected yourselves. Bad leadership. I believe Hillsdale is controversial. So please tell me how you plan on implementing all of your policies that state controversial issues around Hillsdale, because I feel like that's controversial. Your level of control that you're seeking is without bounds and now out of control with the 5 that just vote without discussing with anyone else and push through your own personal agendas. I sent an email around the contract that shall not be named, and you did not reply, but I will state one thing. You claim to do these out of love for your country, yet you behave like a totalitarian state by using your power to propose, approve, and implement based just on what 5 of you want. Perhaps a civics lesson in checks and balances. It's difficult to hear you incessantly talk about rights and pride in our democracy, but choose your personal politics over these tenets. I should remind you, John Adams defended the British soldiers and won after the Boston Massacre. As a true patriot, his beliefs were in the strength of the democratic process, not his personal beliefs or politics. Something for you all to learn from.
Stephen Rash, please. Stephen Rash. Mr. Rash, I see on the sign-in sheet that you have listed as your topic policy. Can you please identify for the board what policy you wish to speak on this evening?
It actually was meant to say budget. I went to talk about the budget. Someone signed in. We good?
You may speak on the budget.
Thank you. First of all, I think there's a punchline to a joke here. How many teachers can you get in one room at one time? I feel like you 9 are it. But speaking of the budget, I noticed comparing last year's budget to this year's budget that this teacher salaries went up very small increment. Is that really what we want to do and show appreciation to our teachers here by not paying them well? I mean, if you look at every other district in the area, they are so underpaid. They're overutilized or underutilized when you use the V word and use someone else to do the work that they are experts in doing. I kind of made some notes here. Our teachers, by hiring the V word, you are underutilizing the underappreciated, underpaid, and highly overqualified teachers. Just wanted to throw that out there. But looking at the budget, I know you're all proud that you're not raising taxes and all, but we need teachers. There's statistics that anyone can find that talk about how few teachers are actually going and getting degrees in teaching. We're going to run out if we keep showing them that we're not going to appreciate them. So before you pass this budget tonight, think about how much are our teachers worth. Like I said in the last time we spoke up here, Dr. Bolton's the only qualified educator up there. I don't think any of you else are able or qualified or should be teaching students. And I don't think there's 9 more classrooms to have you guys up there. I'm looking at you, yeah. So, thank you.
Cassie Rudolph, please. Cassie Rudolph. Cassie Rudolph. Jake Dublin, please. Are you Cassie Rudolph?
Yes, I am.
All right, very good. Cassie, I see on the public comment sign-in sheet, you have marked as your topic bathrooms and also personnel.
Yes, may I speak on both?
You may speak on the bathroom issue. With regard to personnel, is there a personnel issue on the voting agenda this evening that you wanted to talk about, or was it something other than that?
I would like to speak about the value of teachers and their pay.
And that's something that can be addressed in the second public comment period.
Understood.
Thank you.
No, it's okay.
Spend a
I'll
minute
speak again.
discussing that.
Okay, very good. If you want to speak on the bathroom issue, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Wonderful. My name is Cassie Rudolph, Hilltown Township, I'm 19 years old, and I was a student at Penridge from kindergarten until graduating last year, class of 2022. I've had so many wonderful teachers from kindergarten to senior year. I've been at college for the past 8 months in New Jersey, and I've seen my district evolve further than I could have ever imagined. Policies have failed to protect my fellow members of the queer community, so that many of my friends can't even use the bathroom that matches their gender identity. Their safe spaces have also been taken away. How can I be Penridge proud if in a district that outright prevents me and my fellow members of the LGBTQIA community from living out and proud? That is all I have to say on that
Jake Dublin, please. Jake Dublin.
Mr.
Mr. Dublin, the public comment sign-in sheet has listed as your topic bathrooms. Is that correct?
Yeah, just for clarity, Dublin's not my last name.
Jake, if you could state your name and your municipality, please.
Is that required, the last name?
It's part of our policy 903 for all speakers to state their name and municipality.
First and last name?
Please.
So I'm Jake Whitson in Dublin, here to speak about bathrooms, policy 720. I want to express my support for passing policy 720. I think that personally I have no vested interest in someone's gender expression. It doesn't bother me, has nothing to do with me, it's not my business. But that's not why we separate bathrooms. We separate bathrooms not based on your own expression, the clothes you wear, or how you decide to present yourself to the world. We separate bathrooms by sex because there are physical differences between male and female. It has nothing to do with someone personally or individually. There's just a difference between the sexes. That's why the bathrooms have different plumbing, because the people using them have different plumbing. It's got nothing to do with what you wear. It's just a simple physical difference. The reason that we care about that physical difference is because at the end of the day, there can be physical harm. We separate, I can think of 3 categories by sex, which is sports, prisons, and bathrooms. And it has nothing to do with your outward expression, your deeply held personal beliefs, what group you claim identity to, your religion, none of that. We're all individuals. I think everyone has the freedom to express their individualism any way they want. You can wear a dress, you can wear jeans, you can paint your nails, have long hair, short hair. That's not why there's different plumbing in bathrooms. So I want to express my support to pass policy 720. I think it's very important for the safety of your kids. I would definitely expect there is peer pressure on both sides of this politically at the student level, besides that of teachers. There's certainly sympathy towards students who feel that their gender is linked to the sex in the bathroom you use. Personally, I think they're unrelated. I think the bathrooms have nothing to do with gender. They have nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with any of your personally held beliefs. It's simply the plumbing. Thanks.
Josh Hogan, please. Mr. Hogan, I see on the public comment sign-in sheet that you wish to speak on the topic of 720. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right.
So Joshua Hogan, West Rock Hill Township. I am in support of the sex-based policy that's on the agenda tonight. I basically could not do anything to beat the person who just spoke in front of me, so I basically say ditto to all of the points that were made. I want to, I guess, speak instead to logistically how this should work tonight. You know, on the one hand, with all the circus going on, I would say let's just vote stuff through. Just end this meeting, put everything through. But I'm predicting that there will be some discussion on this. There have been at all of the 4 previous meetings where I've expressed the same support for this policy. If issues come up with language and all of this, I would ask that you put a policy in place tonight, even if it's imperfect, because this is the last chance to do it before the end of the school year. I think that it's important for the administration to work out kinks in this policy and get a head start on putting it in place so that next year there's a solid plan in place that works. So I would just encourage you, to stick it out when there's discussion, and I'm sure there's going to, need to be tweaks. You can always bring it back up. You can always revisit this policy and move it through 2 more reads again in the future. That's it. With regards to, like I said, the circus, I just want to thank you for moving this policy. I want to thank you for everything that you guys are doing. You're taking it in the teeth, and I really appreciate it, because you taking it in the teeth like this means that our students don't have to. So thank you.
Adam Benesick, please. Adam Benesick. Mr. Benesick, I see on the public comment sign-in sheet that the topic you wish to speak on today is facilities. Does your comment have to do with items on which the board will be voting on the agenda this evening?
Yes, but not facilities. There's too much that happened. So Adam Benchick, but I'm going to be talking about the consent calendar. I have an item on the consent calendar that I'd like to talk about, and the bathroom policy.
Okay.
So first, I would like to point out that Robert Rules of Order state that the president runs the meeting, not the vice president. So I think it was out of line for the vice president to, I didn't hear one word from the president, and the vice president was running the meeting. So I thought that was a little inappropriate. The bathroom policy, I don't know. I can't follow. But the person before me, that's his 4th public comment in a row about the bathroom policy. From a person running for school board, you would think that you would also mix in, like, the budget is being passed. We got on the consent calendar, on the bills list, there was what I almost think has to be a mistake with the Eckerd Siemens line was $200,000. Is that right? Because I think the legal bills for all of last year was $200,000. So I find it hard to believe that we're quibbling over teacher contracts. We can't pay bus drivers, yet we have an extremely high-paid solicitor. We just hired, or we're going to be hiring another law firm today. I don't know, just doesn't seem right. It seems like there's other stuff that should be addressed. Like if you're running for school board, like there's other stuff that should be addressed. So,
Mr. Besnick, this initial public comment period is for agenda items.
Okay,
not
so
school board.
I wanted to just ask if that was a mistake on the Eckerd Siemens line, because, like I said, our teachers do a great job, and they really deserve to be. They don't deserve to be the lowest paid teachers. We do have a large amount leaving, and yeah. So maybe if you could let me know if that's right, that would be great. And yeah, I originally wanted to talk about the library weeding log. If we can get a little more detail on that, about why books are being removed. I know you say that you can't for some reason, but we've seen other school districts that do on the weeding log, why they're removing the books. And it is an important issue. I know you'd like to kind of gloss over it, but it is an important issue, like these books being removed. It affects children, it affects students, it affects kids. So if we could get some detail on why they're being removed, that would be appreciated. And that's all I got till after. Thanks.
Katie Renee, please. Ms. Renee, I see the topic that you have listed on the public comment sign-in sheet is personnel. There are, as far as I can see, 3 voting items of personnel on the agenda this evening. Can you tell us whether you intend to speak on one of those items. It's the school board treasurer and the settlement agreement.
I'm not, but you called my name at 7:45 to be on deck, and I would appreciate if you would let me speak, because if that hadn't happened, there would have been no issue.
Well, we are having folks speak now that are speaking on items that are on the agenda on which the board will be voting this evening. If you have other items to speak on, there will be another public comment session at the end of the meeting.
I will stay, but this meeting is being run so poorly.
Thank you. Noel White, or Noel White. Noel, I see on the public comment sign-in sheet that you have listed curricular change and a lot of things. My understanding that there is not curricular change agenda items on which the board will be voting on, and a lot of other things is unclear. Are there items on this agenda on which the board will be voting that you wish to speak? And if so, can you identify it for the board?
Okay, so first of all, my apologies. I have only spoken at one of these one other time. I wasn't really sure what you're talking about. No, nothing that I have to say is necessarily on the agenda. It is quite unfortunate that all of this has happened. You have spent up a lot of our time, and I completely understand. I see you moving. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be disrespectful.
If you have comments on other topics, there will be a time during the second public comment session when you're free to give those comments. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Robin Reed? Thank you. Priscilla Gray Stoll. Priscilla Gray Stoll.
Why don't you start asking her now so we can save some time? You want to wait?
Ms. Stoll, I see on the public comment sign-in sheet that you have listed as your topic personnel. There are two personnel items that are before the board tonight, the school board treasurer and a settlement agreement. Do your comments pertain to either one of those items?
I'd like to speak about bathroom policy, so policy 720.
Okay.
And my last name is Gray Stoll, Priscilla Gray Stoll. I live in Percy Borough. I have no children in this school district. I did not grow up in this school district. I am a retired teacher from another state, and I moved here a dozen years ago. My children are way beyond school. I'm here today, and I'm getting to the bathroom policy, so you don't have to interrupt me. I'm here to support and respect the teachers in this district, the students, and the community as well. I hear, because I'm a shop owner in Percy Borough, so I have an opportunity to speak to lots and lots of people about a lot of things that are happening in the district. And it's breaking my heart. In particular, well, two things. You need to respect your teachers. Your teachers are educated and write curriculum. That's what teachers do. Many teachers here probably have more than one degree in curriculum, and you really need to let them do their jobs. It is insulting and disrespectful. Secondly, bathroom policies. I am an retired middle school social studies teacher. I'm in the LGBTQ community. As a middle school teacher, I taught 6th grade. I was out and open. I was one
I was considered a good teacher in my school, and I didn't have all kinds of problems because I was gay. It was irrelevant, but it's a fact. Bathroom policies, this breaks my heart because I am worried about the mental health of the Penridge students and the Penridge teachers. I wonder if you have spoken to some of the transgender students in Penridge to ask them how important it is, this bathroom policy. How important is it? I had transgender students. It was very, very important for them because they identify in a certain way. You may feel, if you have a penis or a vagina, that you've got to go into a certain bathroom, but that's not really what it's about. I have a 10-year-old transgender niece, and I thank goodness every day that she is not in this school district. I tell you. And I am respectful, and I always have been, of school boards, and I never believed I would be back in a school board meeting after having retired from teaching. But here I am because I cannot be quiet. I cannot do it as a member of the teaching community and as a member of the LGBTQ community. It's shameful.
Thank you. Chris Kaufman, please. Chris Kaufman.
Look into the second one. And can you read the policy that says we can't talk about any items that aren't on the agenda? I'd like to hear it verbatim.
Dakota Bornman Murtha, please.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Policy 903. I will receive my comment as it does not pertain to the new rules that we've decided for.
Stephanie Regina, please. Stephanie Regina. Stephanie, I see that you have marked.
No, maybe I'll go with the bathrooms. I'll take bathrooms for 400. And I mean, there's plenty to comment on. That's the thing. There are so many things to come here and talk about. So you want me to stick to something specific on that you're gonna vote on? Okay. So bathrooms, and I'm gonna tie that into what this does to the teachers. Okay, because that's what I really want to be here to talk about. But we waste time on bathrooms. They do not spend much of their day peeing in school, okay? They're here to learn stuff, and all of that is being undermined from so many different directions. So my question is, why are you trying to pigeonhole us into talking about the bathrooms right now? It's late. We've got students coming up here who have to be here at 7 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, and you can rearrange something like you moved just today. You moved around the superintendent report before the comments because it was just logical to do so. Maybe tonight's one of those nights where you can use your discretion that you never use and maybe do something a little more logical. Because we're having a crisis. We're literally having a crisis. That's why we're here. We're not here because, we find this fascinating. And real quick, because honestly I don't know if I'm going to make it to the end of this, I really came here because I did want to shout out to our teachers because it is just deplorable what we're putting them through. I see some of our diaper people here, Mrs. Rundle, Mrs. Phillip, we love you. The girls wanted to come tell you that tonight, but they got nervous, and I don't blame them. That's all.
So on a review of our public comment sign-in sheet and the topics listed on that sheet, it appears that we've been through all of our speakers who have signed up for items on the agenda on which the board will be voting this evening. If you haven't had an opportunity to speak on a topic on which you wish to speak to the board, you may sign up for the second public comment session, which will be held at the end of the meeting. With that, we'll conclude our first public comment session for this board meeting.
Moving on to the consent agenda. All right, I'm going to make a motion to approve the consent calendar as items listed A through I. Could I get a second, please? I got a motion and a second. Comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Wait, what was that? We missed that. What did you just vote on the meeting notes?
Consent calendar.
Consent calendar.
The meeting notes. What's item 1?
Moving on to committee reports. Mr. Cormack, facilities, please.
Facility meeting was held. We have a few change orders. Motion to approve a change order for Nice Construction in the amount of $5,869.80 to change the garage fire service line to a wet tap per Percy Waterbury.
I'll second it. And a motion and a second. Comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Second motion to approve a change order for Nice Construction for the amount of $2,639.04 for differing site conditions and salt storage shed causing existing piping from the DSC rod drains to relocate in the store manhole. The district is to be reimbursed by Site Logic for the cost of this change order.
Second.
I heard a motion and a second. Comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next change order, motion to approve a change order credit to Hollenbach Construction, Inc. in the amount of $1,156.86 to change the garage shelving to heavy duty for a special order.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. Comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next motion to approve a change order for BSI Electrical in the amount of $1,360.72 to repair a conduit for existing electrical feeder at the existing storage shed located at the DSC.
I'll second that. Got a motion and a second. Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
We have a motion to approve obsolete items A through F.
I'll second it. Motion has been made and seconded. Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Our next facility committee meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, June 7th, 2023.
All right, moving on to finance. Motion to approve contracts A through H listed below. Could I get a second, please?
Second.
Wait, sorry. Can I separate A from that list?
And G.
Going to separate items A and G from that motion. So we're going to be voting on B through F and H. Could I get a second for that?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Back to items A. We'll individually do them in a second. Make a motion to approve item number A. Can I get a second, please?
I would like to get more information on that. So I'd like to make a motion. Oh, sorry.
Can I get a second first?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay.
Please.
So I would like to get more information, so I would like to actually table it.
You'd like to table
A.
A. Or we can just call the vote.
We have.
We just call it. Yeah, we're just going to call the vote on the table. Comments or questions? No. Could we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. McCullough, Mrs. Chairman, on the fourth. Could I see you on the stage? We have a couple technical issues on computers. Thank you.
Are we allowed to ask questions?
No,
Not on the table. It was tabled.
Table. Deal with Ricky's first. That's why.
I just had more information. That's all.
I mean, it's not time critical. Like, do they need
So, Ms. Shannon, we're having a roll call vote, and this is to table item A, the Family Foundation Partnership Contract, to gather additional information. So if you call the roll, please.
Mrs. Spanish Clemens?
Yes.
Ms. Batisky?
No.
Mrs. Blomgren?
Yes.
Mrs. Chaikin?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Cormack?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins, not here. Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Rice?
Yes.
Mr. Wurs?
Yes.
Motion carries. We will table item number A. Moving on to G. It's a motion to approve item number G. Could I get a second, please?
Second.
I get a second. Comments or questions?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with approving the contract. Unfortunately, this is not the right version, so I'm going to make a motion to table so we can get the correct version on the agenda for the next meeting. So I would like to make a motion to table.
Motion's on the floor to table item number G. Could I get a second? I don't need a second, I'm sorry. My bad. Might as well do a roll call vote. I'm sorry, Ms. Chandler.
Everyone's good. You have to be. Yeah.
Okay, ready? Mrs. Spanish Clemens?
Yes.
Ms. Batisky?
Yes.
Mrs. Blomgren?
Yes.
Mrs. Chaikin?
Yes.
Mr. Cormack?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins, not here. Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Rice?
Yes.
Mr. Wurs?
Yes.
Motion has been tabled. Thank you. Moving on to make a motion to approve PSBA membership renewal 2023 to 2024 in the amount of $17,308.76. Could I get a second, please?
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of bids, items A through F. Could I get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Got a motion and a second. Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve an overnight trip for the PHS cheerleaders to attend a UCA camp on Friday, August 18th, 2023 to August 21st, 2023. Could I get a second, please?
Second.
I get a motion and a second. Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Got a motion to approve the 2023-2024 general fund budget, proposed budget as presented on the PDE 2028 form. Revenues and expenditures as balanced at $154,662,447 and set the real estate tax rate at 135.2555 mils, which remains unchanged from 2017 to 2018 through the 2023 to 2024 fiscal year.
Second.
Thank you.
Quick.
Thank you. Got a motion and a second. Could I get a roll call vote, please, Mrs. Chandler? Comments or questions, I guess. Sorry. Jump that one. Comments or questions?
I just, before the roll call vote, I just want to again publicly thank Mr. Dahlberg and his department, as well as all the budget leaders, anyone who's a line leader, being the building principals, and anyone who controls a department for their work. This is a long process that begins in the month of November and works all its way through to May. And it is a lot of work to go through all of that and to really prioritize in terms of the needs for the budget, and to be able to do so with a balanced budget without a suggested tax increase is a big deal. It's not very common in the state of Pennsylvania. So, Mr. Dahlberg, I just want to publicly thank you. I know we've had an opportunity during some of the committees. Thank you.
It's his 7th year, I believe, Mr. Dahlberg, right? Without a tax increase in the 5th year with a balanced budget. Excellent job, Mr. Dahlberg and your group. Thank you. Mrs. Chandler, please.
Mrs. Spanish Clemens?
Yes.
Ms. Batisky?
Yes.
Mrs. Blomgren?
Yes.
Mrs. Chaikin?
Yes.
Mr. Cormack?
Yes.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Rice?
Yes.
Mr. Wurs?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. The next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, June 7th, 2023. Moving on to personnel, Ms. Chaikin.
Okay, first item is a motion to approve Mr. Sean Dahlberg as school board treasurer for the 23-24 school year.
I'll second it. Motion has been made and seconded. Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And the second motion is to approve a settlement agreement for employee number 2037.
I'll second it. Motion's been made and seconded. Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and that's it for personnel.
Moving on to policy, the Spanish funds.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. The policy committee meeting was held on May 8th. And first, we have policies up for first read. I'll make a motion to approve first reading on policies A and B.
I'll second it. Oh. Got a motion and a second. Comments or questions?
As it's a first read, I want to provide administrative feedback on policy 124.2, which is on dual and concurrent enrollment. Currently, the administration does not support this policy as it's draft. Our current policy prioritizes attending Penridge for classes where we have developed curriculum that is taught by our teachers. The current policy also provides numerous opportunities and exceptions for students that have a unique situation. The current policy, some of the concerns that we have with those is that it would potentially, it does not require students to attend Penridge in an absurd case for any class. There would be possible that a student could graduate from Penridge and never attend Penridge physically, and not through cyber, but through concurrent. I'm not sure that that's a realistic situation, but it would be allowed by that. When we talk about the needs in the policy, we really talk about our curriculum. We work hard on our curriculum. Our teachers work hard on the curriculum, and it's the right curriculum for our kids once it's approved. They are our resources, right? We know what we're teaching them. We know what we're teaching them with. There are teachers, which obviously do a wonderful job. Beyond that, when you compare a college course to a high school course, there is much more time on task in terms of in front someone who is able to care for you. And it's not that college teachers don't care. I'm married to one, so please don't tell her I said that. But she does not see her students the same amount of time that our students are seen by a high school teacher, and I think that's important for the vast majority of kids. There are exceptions out there, and the current policy allows for those exceptions. And so the time on content, the amount of time you spend in a high school class is vastly more time than you spend on content in a college class, unless you are very motivated outside of that to spend that time on your own. And so for those reasons, we would suggest the current policy and ask for consideration around those areas. Thank you.
I just had a comment too. This was last revised in September of this year. This past year, 2022. But has anything changed since that time that we're having to revisit this again?
So we have kids who benefit from additional pathways, and some kids work better through an individualized approach and can handle college level courses, and this opens the door for some of them to be able to access their pathways who can't access them now. We talked about a student earlier who wouldn't be able to take tech next year. And this may open up an opportunity where that student will be able to take tech. And you can say, oh, well, there's exceptions. No one's making an exception for the student to take those courses, those core courses at Bucks instead of taking them here, so that he can get into the college that he's looking to get into and have the combination of the accelerated academics that he needs, as well as the technical background that he needs from the technical school. And there's a lot of examples of where kids need to be able to have that flexibility, and parents pay for those courses. And you're talking about college level courses, and some kids can handle and benefit from that model. So leaving that opportunity open for kids and families to be able to choose if that's the best option to meet their kids' needs. That's what I think is.
Is that a change from when we debated this back in September?
Yeah, I think it was just a one line change.
No, this is a large change now. I'm just wondering why we're revisiting this now. That's what you've mentioned, Megan. It's not a change that was existing back then in September. I'm just wondering what has changed, if anything, with regard to our revisiting this.
I think this is just another example of the board ignoring the experts, Dr. Bolton and his team. This is something we've talked about many times, and they see the exception that were in there that they could have been handled with going through the superintendent, which now we're forcing it down their throat again. And the other thing, just on that subject, we're talking about doing things that the faculty and the administration aren't too thrilled with. And back when we changed the social studies thing from 4 to 3, I asked many times for examples of how this would help. And I guess we got our first one today after 5 months where there actually someone benefited from this. But we just ignored the other 1,000 people who said it wasn't a good idea. So if that's the case for making a change, it's pretty weak.
That 1,000 can still take it if they want.
But just, is there anything that's changed from September till now with regard to our changes in this policy? No, I'm just saying, what is, to revisit this, I don't want to revisit every policy every 6 months. So what has changed that we need to revisit this policy?
Word leadership, I think.
All those in favor?
Aye. Can we separate out the vote then?
Yeah.
Separate them.
You usually do that before the first and the second.
It's like first read.
You already voted, actually.
So you want to vote on both at the same time, or you want to individually vote?
We actually already voted for it.
Okay.
So I don't know, was,
So,
how many yeses and how many noes?
we can split it up A and B. Who was the second, so we can track that, so we can divide it up. Who's my second?
Do I need to second the motion?
No, I'm trying to think who was the second, so they can retract it. Was that?
I made the motion, I didn't edit it.
So it's already accepted.
What?
It's up to you to accept the amendment.
We already voted. We can't go backwards.
I don't think we voted.
Yeah, we did.
There was no,
I never said
there was no opportunity to vote against it.
You made a motion for A and B. Right? It's up to you whether to accept it.
It's already 250.
That's not wrong. How do you go backwards and then we're undoing the vote?
Did everybody vote? You just do a roll call.
Just ask for who was in favor.
That's what I'm saying, we already voted on it. How do you undo it? So you're saying we're going backwards, we're undoing the vote?
No, please.
I didn't ask for it.
Okay, we'll re-vote. All right, I'll make another motion and we'll vote on the policies twice.
Individually.
I'll make a motion to approve policy A.
I'll second that motion. So there's a motion and a second for policy 124.2, item number A. Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
5-3. Motion carries.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve policy B.
I'll second it. Motion has been made. Comments or questions? Item number B, policy number 235.1. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
I didn't hear everybody.
Just me.
7-1?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, does anyone need anything separated out before I make a motion for the final approval of these three policies, policy 137.1, 720, and 906?
I'd like to pull out B.
Okay. I will make a motion to approve items A and C.
I will second that. A motion has been made and seconded for items A and C. Comments or questions on items A or C? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A and C.
Just a comment on that, policy 906 is the public comment policy, which actually does specifically spell out the public comment period. I'm sorry, 903.
Yeah, it also says that you have to be a resident when we ignored that last meeting. Let's follow it. Let's follow it for everybody, not just our.
I'll make a motion to approve policy B.
I'll second that. Comments or questions?
Yeah, I just wanted something short since it's been so late. So I'm going to vote against this, and because the most likely outcome from passing this will be legal action against the district that will force us to use the current bathroom process, the one that's in place right now, the one that everybody's upset about. Now, it may not happen, but it depends who you listen to. So we received countless complaints from the parents, and I agree the proper solution is not what we're doing right now. It's not good, and we need to figure it out. But by going down this path, we may be required to keep this current process in place for years until litigation is settled. Not sure if it's going to happen, but it could. So the choice we're making tonight is that we could easily avoid this option, but just creating one gender bathroom in the high school. And I know it's not going to change anyone's mind, but I just wanted everyone to know. I know it's an uncomfortable situation the way we have it now, and I know parents are concerned about it. However, we risk having to drag this out for years with the current policy once we pass this.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Sound like 7-1. Motion carries.
The next policy committee meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, June 7th.
Next committee is the Penridge Area Coordinating Committee. Ms. Battisti.
Good evening. The Penridge Area Coordinating Committee met on April the 27th. We had a short meeting. The main topic that was discussed was Bedminster Township. PennDOT had completed intersection improvements at Old Easton Road and Route 611. And the township is also considering increasing the amount historically paid per acre for land preservation. The next meeting will be held on Thursday, May the 25th.
And Ms. Battisti with Penridge Community Education Foundation, please.
The Penridge Community Education Foundation met on May the 4th. And the discussion at that meeting was the PCEF Board of Directors had met with Dr. Bolton to discuss ideas for a transition plan for the foundation. In recent years, it's been difficult getting new volunteers to rotate onto the board and serve, and current board members are ready to retire their service. So the current proposal includes dissolving PCEF as a 501c3 and changing the structure behind the scenes to operate as a foundation within the district to be managed by a district employee. The goal would be to continue with a focus on teacher grants and a celebratory event along the lines of a lovely evening. There's also a desire to restart the EITC, the Earned Income Tax Credits program, and connect local businesses to local initiatives, potentially involving the Career Pathways program, as well as outreach to alumni to expand the reach of the foundation. Rather than a board of directors, there would be a collaborative committee with 2 members from each school, community members, and student liaisons in grades 7 through 12. Finally, the timeline is still being finalized for the new structure of the foundation, but the hope is that it will coincide with the start of the next school year. If there are any questions, you can certainly email Dr. Bolton or the board. And the next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, June 1st.
I have a question. Would that, in the process that you're talking about with starting a new foundation, would that include then hiring an employee to run it? Is that what you're saying?
No, the current plan is to use existing employees to be able to run an education foundation. I thought, Ms. Battisti, I appreciate you, that's a complicated subject, and I think you handled it really, really well to be able to honor the current goals of PCEF, but add additional district resources in terms of our work within the buildings and in the community, as well as our alumni, but it would not require additional staffing at this time.
So where would that fall?
That would fall within one of our departments in the building that we're still trying to figure that out. Right.
Okay.
Thank you. Moving on to public comment.
During this public comment period, we have a number of people who have signed up. We also have a number of people who were on the first public comment session that didn't have an opportunity to speak because they weren't speaking on agenda items on which the board would vote. So with that said, each person that's called will have 3 minutes. We ask that everyone remains respectful and you convey your comments to the board. With that, can we have Janelle Montigny? Janelle Montigny, please. Janelle Montigny, please. Janelle, please approach.
Janelle Montigny, Hilltown. I'd like to talk about the abuse of power by parent groups in the district. On April 27th, a post appeared on the Central Middle School Communication Facebook page. Some key points. This page is promoted at Central Middle School. A letter is sent to all incoming 6th grade parents, encouraging them to join the page. The administrators were allowed to speak to all the parents at the back-to-school barbecue, and it's referenced in weekly newsletters, also written by the CCN administrators. The post was anonymously written. Why would a person have to hide their identity unless they are doing something wrong? The post is a political hit piece attacking the board. The final sentence was, other local organizers who have been in this fight from the beginning already have plans underway to support a slate of far more qualified school board members. One of the administrators of the CCN page who approved this is currently running for school board versus members of this board. The anonymous poster called out a member of the board by name that has 2 children at Central. An active Democrat campaigner was commenting on the thread, and he has no children that go to Central. Why would he be on that page or know about the post? Seems orchestrated to me. I commented that the post was inappropriate. The page was supposed to be used for communicating Central events, fundraisers, and other information, not for political debates. There are plenty of community pages for that. I also noted that it's a huge conflict of interest that a school board candidate is using her school volunteer leadership role to approve political attacks against her opponents. Multiple other parents also commented on the inappropriateness of the post. That evening, I was blocked from the page, but no one else was. If there were a few people stating that the post didn't belong there, why was I the only one blocked, leaving me without access to information regarding my son's middle school? This isn't the first time that this school board candidate used her leadership position to punish me. She's also the HSA president at Siler Elementary, where I have 2 sons. In previous years, she's used her power to keep me from volunteer opportunities on 2 occasions. I spoke with the principal at Central that evening and again in the morning. She agreed the post was not appropriate and the page should be neutral for all parents. She also agreed that I didn't say anything to deserve to get blocked, and she would work on it. The principal spoke with one of the page administrators before 9 a.m. that morning, but the post was still up and I was still blocked until late that afternoon. A friend of mine also spoke with the principal that morning, and she said she couldn't make them take it down and alluded to them giving her a hard time. That shows her lack of respect for authority. District Policy 915 addresses booster clubs and parent organizations. The CCN clearly broke 2 elements of this policy. It may not serve as a lobbying service or a special interest group, and this support must be non-discriminatory. The school board candidate and her friends on the CCN at Central use their power for political gain and also discriminate against me. Yet thus far, nothing has been done. Why have a policy if you aren't going to enforce it? I'm almost done. Finally, I urge the community to be forewarned if this school board candidate used her power on the Central Communication Network and as president of Siler HSA, what would she do? You didn't yell at the other people, so stop. What would she do if she ever got elected to the school board? That's a scary thought to me. And the person that spoke for another 30 seconds, no one said a word to her, so stop.
Laura Foster, please.
Ms. Chenoweth, would you please make sure you check the additional signing sheet on the back and bring it to us if there's any names on it, please? Thank you.
Laura Foster, please.
That was it. Okay, thank you.
Laura Foster, East Rock Hill Township. So I pretty much got my point across before. I think who wanted and who needed the information that I provided was able to get it. Because that information that I provided about Vermillion is really for everyone in this audience. It's for all of our children. It's for your grandchildren. It's for the teachers here that are dealing with an oppressive school board that doesn't value what they do, doesn't value the breadth of education that they hold and expertise, but instead tries to bring in this like 4-month-old, 5-month-old little company to try to rule our schools, right? I think it's interesting that my comment was the one that was pushed aside. Prior to my speaking, I believe there was someone else that talked about Vermillion. Why wasn't that person taken off? Prior to my speaking, there was a plethora of students that were coming up and talking about the appreciation that we have for our teachers. That wasn't on the agenda. So why don't you tell me why it is that my comment was there? You didn't let me get to the place of having a comment that was able to be fully developed. So let me ask you what's next. Is this a new policy that you're going to throw up there? Is this something new that you're going to look into to say that you can't public comment without getting board approval first? Do you want to read my notes? There's a lot of F-bombs in this note. You want to read them? Go ahead, you can read them. Is that where we're going to? You need approval of what I'm going to say before I say it. Tell me how that applies to the Sunshine Law. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. I'd appreciate if I'm making public comment that you pay attention to my public comment. When you speak, you're asked that I give you the respect of listening to you. Can you please give us the same respect? Thank you.
JV Renee, please. Mr. Thomas and Ms. Chenoweth, could you check the lights in the front? Someone might have leaned. Mr. Gallo, you might have leaned against the lights. Could just somebody check that with you? Thank you.
That's Gallo's fault. It's always his fault.
Hello, Katie Renee, Percy Borough. I want to start by pointing out that my name was initially called over 2 hours ago to make public comment, and I believe that this is a result of complete and utter lack of competence of the leadership of this board. I also would like to thank Ms. Batiki, Mr. Russell, and Mr. Wers for staying on the stage. And to the rest of you, just another sign of disrespect to the teachers and the community by taking a 30-minute recess rather than listening to one of your constituents for 3 minutes because you got your feelings hurt. I am here as an alum, taxpayer, and parent in support of Penridge teachers. Thank you, teachers, for all that you do and all that you give. I'm also here to remind this board of the critical role that they play in offering our teachers a fair contract. They are the one resource without which we cannot function, and I am in awe of their resilience in the face of this board's misplaced priorities and political agenda. As this board's lack of leadership on the real issues facing our district drags Penridge lower and lower in the rankings and brings more and more negative press, the teachers keep teaching. While this board concerns itself with who is in which bathroom, rather than the fact that drug use and vaping in the bathroom stops many kids from even attempting to use them, the teachers keep teaching. While you bicker and talk over each other about non-issues, and while you ignore the community members who you are meant to serve, the teachers keep teaching. Without the ability to attract and retain good teachers, we will continue into the downward spiral that we find ourselves in as a result of poor leadership. You accuse the teachers of having hidden agendas to indoctrinate students, when in fact it is you who are abusing your power to attempt to do exactly that. I understand that you are all volunteers, and if I felt that your motivation was anything but selfish, I could at least appreciate the time that you're giving. However, the majority of you have proven time and again that it is your own interests that you represent when you sit on that stage. Teacher expertise is disregarded, student well-being is neglected, and community voices are dismissed. Your words, your actions, and the policies that you implement suggest that you think that Penridge students need to be protected from their teachers. You should be ashamed. In fact, as an aside, I'm sickened that this board is even entertaining the idea of making the NOVA Safe Touches presentation, which helps protect our children from actual predators less available. Our teachers give so much of themselves so that our children can learn, have a positive academic and extracurricular experience, and go on to be successful adults. They deserve to be respected and fairly compensated. They deserve your time, attention, and careful consideration in contract negotiations. And we, as the community members who make up your electorate, deserve to know that you care enough about our kids' education to make this a priority. Thank you.
Noelle White, please. Noelle White.
She left because she didn't get going.
Robin Reed, please. April Foltz.
April Foltz, West Rock Hill Township, mom of 3 high school students. And tonight I want to express my overall concerns about the school board's leadership behaviors or lack thereof. There is a very clear divide within the board that now far exceeds any division in the community. Your own personal platforms have replaced any semblance of actual student, teacher, or community representation. As elected officials, you are obligated to represent the interests of the district, not only those who voted for you, but equally to those who did not. The Vermillion contract was just the latest example of your complete dismissal of unified community feedback. You make absolutely no attempt to address the public comments or even listen to one another. I find it interesting that you were concerned about decorum tonight when every discussion results in you just loudly repeating yourselves until someone calls for a pre-contrived vote. In my frustration after the last meeting, I was reminded of a book I read a while ago called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And after tonight's meeting, I'm even more convinced of how incredibly applicable it is to the current board dynamic. In case you haven't read it, I'll summarize. Dysfunction number 1 is an absence of trust. Trust is confidence that your peers have good intentions and aren't out to harm you. Teams that lack trust don't ask for help, don't accept feedback, avoid spending time together, try to hide or deny their mistakes, and retaliate or hold grudges. The absence of trust is evidenced in every single meeting, between the board members, between the board and the teachers, between the board and the parent community. 2 and 3 are fear of conflict and lack of commitment. And these go hand in hand, and they're not about personal conflict, there's plenty of that. It's about constructive conflict. Some board members do all the talking, shutting down opposing opinions and logical questions, while others are unwilling to say anything and just vote with the majority when the time comes. So you never reach an actual commitment to any position. You have the same discussions over and over again. The last 2 are avoiding accountability and inattention to results. When a decision is forced on you before you've had a chance to align or even discuss, no one's accountable because everyone is blaming the other. And without accountability and trust that your fellow board members will be true to their word, you can't collectively achieve anything productive. As I prepared my comments for tonight, I thought about why I keep showing up here, knowing that anything I say is likely to be ignored, and I know many do the same. But I'm here because I'm a mom who cares about her kids' education. I care about their teachers. I care about every student in this community and want them to get a quality education in a safe environment. Your primary responsibility is to the students of the district, and right now you are failing them miserably. I really hope that you can get out of your own way and at least attempt to be the leaders they deserve.
Chris Bachman.
To start, I'd like to take a moment to remember Sellerville Elementary teacher Kara Schonemeyer. Kara was a multiple disability support teacher, spent the majority of her career teaching within Penrith District, and she passed on April 21st, and she will be missed. So in another show of fiscal irresponsibility, thank you for dragging the Borough Police Department out to the district away from legitimate business because of your bruised egos. Thank you, Dr. Bolton, for recognizing the teachers as being curriculum savvy. And I'd like to speak regarding the teacher's contract. And while there's always fiscal concern regarding any contract negotiation, unless apparently you're a consultant, it's never in the interest of any party to refuse to negotiate in good faith. And this is one of the key tenets to contract negotiations, and apparently this board has thrown that out the window. To be members of a school board is to look out for the best interests of the district as a whole. This is accomplished by serious consideration of input from the public, parents, students, administration, and educators. Your decision shows families of this district you have no intention of ever rising to the challenge of elevating the standard of education in Penridge. Are you aware that our district has the third lowest starting pay in a 30-mile radius? How are you planning on bringing in new talent and retaining teachers that we do have? I find it morally bankrupt for a group of people to decry government overreach and then find so many ways to overreach into the lives of families, students, and educators. Are your politics and ideology so important that you're blind to the fact that teachers are looking for alternative employment? You consider your decisions to be a gold standard while robbing children of the educators that they deserve, all while hiring indoctrination professionals. I'm disappointed in every one of you. Go to the table and do the hard work. Sit down and negotiate with the teachers. Actually listen to their needs and find ways to meet them. I implore you to do the right thing. Pay the teachers what they're worth before another district does.
Bradley Markle Drummond.
Bradley Merkelgum, Percy Borough. Good evening. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week. I wanted to speak tonight and praise the amazing teachers of Penridge School District for all their hard work, especially in recent years where the difficulties of the job have been exponentially increased. I would especially like to thank my children's teachers and those who have from my own time here at Penridge. To Mrs. Moyer, Mrs. Childs, Mrs. Rush, Mrs. Thomas, Mrs. Krautz, Mrs. Vallon, Mrs. Gable, Mrs. Ferris, Mrs. Hanson, and Mrs. Wright, thank you for instilling in my two boys a love of learning and for creating a learning environment in their school so joyful that my children are excited to wake up each day and go to school, and at times disappointed to wake up on the weekends and find out they don't get to go. To my own teachers at Penridge, present, retired, and those who have passed, my gratitude to you is more than I can express in only 3 minutes. To Misters Hellman, Hosier, and Wills, thank you for helping me find my love of running. That would help me stay, at least kind of fit. I still fit in my high school clothes, so we'll count that a win. As well as instilling in me a love of the social studies that led to my future career as an educator. Mrs. Schaefer, for the self-discipline and regulation she taught me. Mr. Mignona, for helping me figure out how to navigate high school for the first time when I transferred in. To Mrs. Ritzmillers and Mr. Dubin for helping me as I struggled through my first and final years of high school math here at the school. And to Mrs. McGinty for helping me to become a better writer and for remaining a supportive presence throughout my entire life. I could keep going, but we would be here all night thanking those who are deserving of our praise. And it needs to be understood that appreciating teachers is not just about a few events or some pleasant words that we choose to give them. While we sit here today to celebrate teachers, a subset of our current board has consistently chosen to disrespect the professionals of our district by consistently ignoring their advice, questioning their professionalism, and refusing to negotiate in good faith for a competitive contract, which will attract and retain the best teachers for Penridge School District. Please, I implore you tonight, stop these attacks on our teachers. Recognize their hard work and their professionalism, and make strides to pay these wonderful individuals what they are worth so that we can keep them here and keep them present in our children's lives. Because what they give our children and what they have given to this community is priceless, and they deserve it. Thank you.
Dakota Borman Murphy. Dakota Borman Murphy.
Hello, I'm Dakota Borman Murphy, and I'm from Hilltown Township. Not quite sure how I'm going to follow that
was very good, and that is my middle school history teacher. He was the first teacher that ever made me truly love learning and instilled in me a lot of the same principles that he talks about from his early teachers. I've had a lot of amazing teachers over my years. I spent all of my elementary and middle school years outside the district, but when I transferred into the high school, it was hard. First year, COVID, I lost a lot of friends that year of trying to make friends and then losing friends and communication. But the one thing that always had a sense of community was the classrooms, and being back in those classrooms with teachers who really cared about me. My 10th grade was one of the best years at Penridge. I had Mr. Cousino for my AP US History class, and it is to this day one of the best classes I've ever had. He taught me how to write essays, but also, the important things about American history. And he made me proud to be an American, which I think all of you are very concerned that we are not learning here. I am proud of America and its ability to change and evolve over time and not be stuck in the past. I think that's what history is all about. Continuing on with my world history education and my European history education. I just took my 2 AP exams for history last week, which was rough. But our teachers prepare us so well, and I think that we do them a disservice by trying to outsource our education to people who don't necessarily have the same experience with the students that they're trying to write curriculum for. These teachers know us. They know their students. They know us. Please trust in our teachers and their ability to make our community a better place and to know what is best for our school and for their students. They grew up in the same district as us, and they've gone through Penridge, as Bradley said, and I've had some of the same teachers as him, which is odd. Shout out to Mr. Dubin again. But please, care about our teachers as much as they continue to show how much they care about us. And maybe let's do a little bit more for Teacher Appreciation Week than just giving them coupons to local stores. Maybe help them out with those contracts and that curriculum. All right. Thank you all.
Sharon Parks.
Hi, my name is Sharon Parks, and I've been a teacher here at Penridge for 18 years. Prior to this, I've taught for 10 years in Akron, Ohio, for my sins, and in England, and I've had the privilege of teaching over 3,000 students, and about 1,900 are Penridge graduates. I've experienced many things at Penridge, but over the last 5 years, there's been quite a few events. Everything the school board and administration has asked us to do, we the teachers have done and made work. As teachers, we are giving by nature, and we'll always try to make it work for our students, often to our detriment, to our own home lives, health, and families. We do this because this is who we are. We care about our students, and we take pride in what we do. We're currently being asked to start planning for another major change, block scheduling. Again, we will make it work. Most of our students will see a seamless transition, and any issues that do arise, we'll make it work again. I've literally taught across the world, and I can say with hand on heart that the teachers here at Penridge, my colleagues, are some of the most professional, hard-working, top-shelf humans you're ever going to meet. About 2 months ago, Jim Valletta and the PEA negotiation team presented our contract proposal to its members. To be honest, I was disappointed with the financial package they suggested. I compared our proposal to other school districts around us. We're currently at the bottom of the list. This new package doesn't even put us anywhere near close to the top, not almost into the top third. In my head, I thought the school board negotiation team would take a look at this and literally rip Jim's hand off as they took that sweetheart deal. Not so. When we were presented with the school board's proposal, I just about lost my mind. I was insulted and angry. The board's proposal will have us remain at the very bottom compared to other districts. The minuscule addition to the pay schedule and the changes in healthcare benefits equates to a 0 increase, and taking into account inflation, a pay cut. Is that what you think of me? Is that what you think I'm worth? Is it what you think these guys are worth? not alone in my sentiments. As you can see, we're all here. And I can tell you right now, when that contract was presented to the union membership, people were livid. The shock and anger was palpable. The board's proposal cut deep. It really did. The hour of discussion that followed was acidic, to say the least. We left demoralized and angry. I thought you were supposed to negotiate in good faith. It really doesn't feel like that. Please stop using Penridge teachers' love of kids, their kindness, and giving nature as an excuse to exploit us. There is a final straw, and I'll tell you right now, some people have already reached that point. I'm praying that you all will do the right thing and negotiate in good faith. Thank you.
Mindy McCormick.
Good evening. My name is Melinda McCormick. I live in Hilltown Township, and I teach 5th grade at West Rock Hill Elementary. I've been an elementary level teacher in Penridge School District for 31 years. Being a veteran teacher means that one has perspective. My perspective comes from my decades of experience serving Penridge students, as well as from being a Penridge parent whose children have had the privilege to attend Penridge schools. It's always my intention to keep my perspective positive, and to be honest, that's not hard to do. I love the Penridge community, and my Penridge pride runs deep. But as a result of recent events regarding the negotiation of a new contract, I'm struggling with that positive perspective. I believe I'm echoing the perspective of my colleagues when I express my disappointment having seen the board's most recent economic proposal for this professional staff. At a time when we recently heard kind words and expressions from parents and students and administrators as part of Teacher Appreciation Week, it was especially disappointing to realize what the school board really thinks of its professional staff. The proposal offered to us makes it clear that we are not valued and that the work we do for students is not a priority. The current Penridge School District contract, when it comes to salary, is not competitive with others in our county and region, nor will it become so under your proposal. What my colleagues and I want and need is a contract that truly looks to a bright and optimistic Penridge future with dedicated professional staff supporting student achievement. No one chooses a career in education because they're looking for an easy job. The challenges for educators have tremendously increased over time. Working in education means that we aim for the best outcomes for our students each and every day. We accept the challenges that come with this career, but we have also earned the right to be genuinely valued. Being valued in a workplace can be shown in many ways, and one of those ways must be competitive compensation. Standing in this position tonight, speaking on behalf of my colleagues in public, was not easy for me, but I feel compelled to do it. I value education and my fellow staff members too much to be silent. We need this board to recognize that valuing the Penridge professional staff and what we add to this community means more than words. It means a competitive investment in a staff that's worth every penny. Please show us that you value us. Thank you.
Tim Dios.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tim Diaz. I'm a Penridge graduate and a Percy resident. My children graduated from Penridge High School. I'm very proud to say that. And my grandchildren currently go to Penridge schools. I've been a social studies teacher at Penridge High School for the past 23 years. I've had the honor to serve as the Teacher Association President 4 times. Sat across the table from some of you. And I've been on past negotiation teams for over a decade. You might say I've been around a while at Penridge, and I know Penridge educators well. Since negotiations between this board and my union began in January, the Penridge Education Association negotiation team has shared with the entire membership every proposal that has crossed the table from both sides. That level of transparency means that all staff members present at this meeting tonight know the details. They know how your proposal has taken us backwards, and they're not happy. They have expectations after years of slow wage growth in Penridge. In the past, there were years and circumstances when the professional staff were extremely flexible with this school district. It's time now for you to show some flexibility and movement, because that's what today's labor market and circumstances require. Today, we are in a new economic environment, and it's time for this board to recognize the value this professional staff brings to our students and our community. I've been around a while here in Penridge, and I'm here to tell you, you have a problem on your hands. You really do. I'm frustrated. In all my years teaching at Penridge, I have never seen this level of frustration from my fellow Penridge Education Association members. The Penridge professional staff are the lowest paid educators in the entire county of Bucks, and it's time for a change. This board must make the professional staff a priority now, because this association and its members will not tolerate perpetual salary neglect. The labor environment we are in right now calls for a pay scale that attracts and retains employees instead of punishing and encouraging talented and loyal professional staff to look to other districts to make their career home. You must do better.
Jim Valletta, please.
My name is Jim Valletta. I'm a West Rock Hill resident and social studies teacher at Penridge High School. I also serve as the chief negotiator of the 500+ professional staff who constitute the Penridge Education Association. First, I want to recognize my fellow PEA educators and professionals who join us this evening. I hear your frustration, and I share it. My message to this board and our community is simple. It is time for PEA and school board negotiators to get to work. It has been 42 days since our last negotiation meeting. I'm glad to report that we plan to meet on May 22nd, and it is still not too late to get this right. We have significant work ahead of us to do right by the students and staff of Penridge. The best thing we can do for Penridge schools and our community at this moment is to finish the job of negotiating a contract by the end of June that recognizes and respects the need for attraction and retention of high-quality educators to provide services in our classrooms. PEA is advocating for a new contract that recognizes the new reality of public education in both Penridge and our region. Penridge teachers, nurses, social workers, and guidance counselors are the lowest paid educational professionals in the county. In Pennsylvania, the 66% drop in the certification of educators in the last decade suggests a looming crisis. These are the very people who are most needed to staff Penridge schools now and in the future. Our current pay scale is not structured for attracting and retaining professionals that we need for the future of our schools. PEA members are committed to quality education and service to Penn Ridge students. We are also committed to attracting and retaining excellent professional staff to serve our students into the future. And this doesn't happen by accident.
Your mic went off.
This doesn't happen by accident, but only by preparing for a tightening labor market for professional educators. We can still complete our negotiations by June if this board agrees to roll up its sleeves and get to work with us. PEA is committed to regular and frequent bargaining sessions between now and then so that we can negotiate a contract that prepares for the future by attracting and retaining outstanding public educators to serve our students and make them Penn Ridge proud. Let's get to work.
Ross McKenna. Ross McKinnon. McLennan, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, sorry about the contract here. This is very disheartening, and it's really pretty scary. You hold all the power, and you're abusing it. Okay? You know the grandstanding earlier with this young man that, who knows, he may be taking that social studies class, but there you go. Use that opportunity. And he's an engineer, which is awesome. I was really happy to see the great young kids that came up. But you cut off a student who wanted to speak. It's not the first time. You don't cut off students who want to speak up here, sir. Okay? You let them speak. Please let them speak. When it comes to finances, really glad we have this guy. Okay, and thanks for the email back, by the way. What's going to happen when these contracts come due? You have 3 brand new things that I don't see on the budget. How are you going to pay for Hillsdale? How are you going to pay for your social studies rewrite? And this open-ended contract with Vermillion. It doesn't make sense. Okay? Pay the teachers. Don't pay open-ended contracts. Thank you.
Jake from Dublin.
So I'd like to talk to you about transparency and experts. Jake from Dublin. So I'd like to talk about transparency.
Jake, if you could please identify yourself again.
Sure.
Thank you.
Jake from Dublin.
You provided your last name when you were up earlier. If you could do that again, we appreciate it.
All right, I did reread policy 903. It doesn't state a last name, but my last name is Whitson. Jake Whitson from Dublin. Can I have my time reset, please?
If you could please give Jake his 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Ms. Chenoweth, could you pause the timer, please? Thank you.
Can you reset it?
Yes.
Thanks. Who's leaning against them?
Ms. Chenoweth, are you able to reset, or should I just time it up here? Okay, we'll just pause it, and I'll time it up here. Okay?
Thanks. Jake Whitson from Dublin. I'd like to talk about transparency and experts. I've heard a lot about trusting the experts. It actually sounded like someone here thinks transparency is oppression. I heard the word oppression. Vermillion may look at the curriculum. I think transparency is important. I think good governance requires oversight. Oversight requires transparency. At that point, a school board is oppression because you have oversight, because there's transparency. You're not just trusting the experts. The school board is above the teachers. Parents around the country are being sued by school boards and local governments, including in Central Bucks, our next door neighbors, for right-to-know requests. looking for transparency. The experts don't want it. You can't just trust the experts. We don't let police just trust the experts. You have police, they go before court. You bring in a prosecutor and a defender, both experts. They go before a judge, another expert. But it's not just up to the judge. You have a jury of we the people. The power rests with the people. We have teachers. The teachers have oversight by the school board. Even the school board, I don't trust you as the school board. The school board has oversight through voting by we the people, by parents. That's the way it should be. That's the way that Americans set their freedom in place and protect it. Experts have been wrong a lot over the last 3 years. There's experts on both sides. They've both been wrong. I don't know if any of you would blindly trust the experts with anything again, but they would like you to blindly trust them. I think good governance means you can't simply turn a blind eye to people who ask you not to look, not to have transparency. I think we all know what we're going to find. We're going to find politics in the classroom. We're going to find politics in the curriculum. We're going to find that the experts are talking to the children about things that they shouldn't talk to them about. That's why they don't want the transparency.
Leah Rash.
Leah Foster Rash, Hilltown Township. I sent an email to the board a while ago around Vermillion. I haven't gotten a single answer, so I'll ask it here. Please send me any examples of another contract that was placed before the board that was not recommended by the administration staff or the committee that impacted curriculum, not like board retreats. It's funny, right?
No.
You're a funny guy. Also, where in the curriculum policy is the board given the authority to hire a curriculum consultant of their own? That should be coming from the superintendent, so please speak to the policy that you were following when you implemented this. Could you walk us through your vetting process, your request for proposal where Vermillion estimates how many billable hours this task will take? That's pretty common in contracts also. The bathroom policy makes me sad. We don't know how it is right now. Is it working? I have kids in the high school. The bathrooms are a hot mess, regardless of what your gender is. And I do think that there are problems with the existing policy, but I also think this new policy is not solving any of them. Single-use bathrooms have a lot of issues. I know Megan had brought that up before. When I asked my daughter about it, she's like, kids have sex in there, so that's not the gay kids or the trans kids either. So there's a lot of problems. So what we saw today was a lot of amazing students coming out of Pembridge, educated by incredible teachers. They love our country. It's insulting to imply otherwise. They love Pembridge. They want to be here, and they're capable of amazing things if you just get your foot off their necks. They do beautiful work. We saw it here. It would be smart to talk to some of them about a bathroom policy. Someone had recommended talking to some of the transgender children, their families, what works, what doesn't, and we could come up with something beautiful instead of labeling who they are as controversial and invalid, which is what you do in your policies. There's hypocrisy in who's allowed to speak and who isn't. I remember you just couldn't admonish Adam for talking about a school board candidate, but let someone else talk for 3 full minutes about another school board candidate. And policy 903 at the community meeting, where a community member spoke about someone on the committee, all that I repeatedly asked the solicitor if that was a violation, and he said absolutely not, it's allowed. So you guys are inconsistent, well, consistent, but not fair. And you are not Christ-like or Christian at all. Jesus would love these kids. They would try and help them. He would show mercy and compassion. Thank you.
Stephen Rash.
Stephen Rash, Hilltown. Bear with me a little bit. Lots to unpack tonight. I think this was life imitating life, so to speak. The incompetence of the leaders of this board, again, tonight really speaks volumes of where this district is going, and we heard it then from the teachers and the students tonight. Wanted to point out the consent calendar, which was voted on tonight, included meeting minutes from the last school board meeting on April 26th, which included the vote of the Vermillion contract. So, Mr. Solicitor, I'm not going to try to say your name. I will butcher it. I do apologize. But you were out of order, disallowing Laura Foster Swartley to speak about Vermillion. And 45 minutes then went by. None of us will ever get back that you got paid for while we waited for you to learn the rules of these meetings. So you all owe us a cut of $250 per hour for your legal fees. Another thought on that, is this the way meetings are going to run, where you're going to ask for a brief summary of the things we're going to say, just so I can clarify them and send you a summary beforehand of what we're going to talk about? A comment was made that it's not common in the state of Pennsylvania to have no tax increase. Teacher strikes aren't terribly common either, but it sounds like that's where we're heading, in that direction. So I would strongly suggest you take the advice of the people that spoke tonight about work harder, work better about the contract, and show these teachers that they are worth it to stay here. I emailed you questions about Vermillion, twice actually, and no response, including no response from 3 of the 5 board members that ran on a platform of transparency and partnership with parents 2 years ago. You 3 were not transparent or partnered with me as a Penridge parent. If you're so proud of to bring in this so-called curriculum expert, can you explain why this was such a good idea to bring him in, but you seem to hide behind your emails or not respond to them? So I'd love to understand what the reasons were with the questions I asked, which were very similar to my wife's questions. Thank you.
Cassie Rudolph. Cassie Rudolph. Adam Bresenick. Benzik. Adam Benzik. I do believe that we have called on everyone who has signed up to give public comment. If I'm incorrect, please let me know now. Very good. That concludes our public comment period.
And with that, we'll move on to old business.
I'm glad many of the teachers came out, and I appreciate those of you who are still here so that I can speak to you directly about negotiations. First of all, I just wanted to share from our perspective what's happened so far in negotiations. One of the things that I think is really important to note is we have only given one initial financial proposal. And that proposal was earlier and higher than any other initial proposal we've ever given. It was 2%, and it's almost what we have given historically and what the administration has gotten. We also have tried to schedule follow-up negotiations. The first set of negotiation dates that were sent to us were only dates that we have board meetings. We can't miss a board meeting to have negotiations. So then there was a second set of dates that we responded to and put out a date. I guess we're getting confirmation tonight that the union can meet on the 22nd, because we were told that the union can't. And so again, we've been waiting. If I didn't know any better, I would think that this is, the group that's negotiating, utilizing, first of all, this is the first time you're trying to use a first initial proposal and we don't normally negotiate in public. And you don't normally, you know what happens when you get an initial first proposal, which we rush to get to you. right? And then a lot of false information was put out to the public. And then you delay meeting with us till after the primary. If I didn't know any better, this was politically driven. And you tried to stir it up to all of the teachers about this proposal to get everybody out here and didn't even give them the accurate information. And when you talk about how much the proposal was from the union and how reasonable it was, it's a $12 million ask over 4 years, $12 million, and almost 5% per year. Ours was a first proposal, but when you talk about being disingenuous and not negotiating in good faith, that's exactly what the representation of the union has been doing. We've been trying to negotiate, and the union has no interest.
Just for the record too, I never received the proposal that we made as a board member, the proposal that was sent out, so I don't want to do any of this we, saying that we did this. I didn't have anything to do with this.
Yes, you did.
I didn't see the proposal. I didn't see it till last week. And the
Yeah,
second
I
thing
would
is,
agree.
we never received
You
the
saw the
proposal.
proposal in November.
We never received the
In
proposal from the
November.
union either. We've never received the union's proposal either. So you've been more transparent with your members than our leadership has with its members.
Mr. Vice President.
You're a liar.
I'll ask for any affirmation. Ron, Christine?
I would definitely agree. We were kept in the dark. I asked a number of times through emails, and I'm talking. You always interrupt people. Maybe you can keep quiet for a little while. So I asked a number of times, got no feedback except for a verbal update during one meeting for about 1 minute that we met a few times, and that was it. So we were left out. I'm sick of talking about it.
Okay. Literally went through it line by line. Okay.
Any other old business?
You have no credibility.
I just want to speak briefly just to some of the comments tonight with people saying that we are abusing power. Public schools are public schools because they're controlled by the constituents, which the majority of the community voted us in. I don't believe that we are abusing power. I believe that we are doing exactly what we promised the community that we would be doing. I want to remind too that there was a lot of talk about the teachers and their expertise. Oh, sorry, I wanted to mention, because PEA is here tonight, that there is no surprise that there's a lot of them against us. When we did run, the PEA donated money to the slate of candidates to their campaign who ran against us. And like I said before, we are doing exactly what we promised the community, the majority of the community who voted us in, that we would do. I just want to remind a few things about the Vermilion. I'll speak to that. We have brought in consultants, Jacobs and Calic, to train teachers to actually write curriculum. So to say that that's not happened before is just not true.
Was that brought by the board or the administration?
By the administration.
Administration.
That's fine. It's not out of our purview to not
But
suggest
has there
that.
been one where
Why are you
the board
speaking?
brought it?
I'm speaking. Why are you speaking? I didn't interrupt you when you were speaking.
You always.
I was. I gave direct eye contact. I was actively listening, actually. So, also, I want to mention that in August, when we approved a very similar contract for another consultant, that contract was put on the board agenda before the board, not at the finance committee meeting. But again, that's not something that gets brought up because that wasn't looked into at the time, just
By the
this specific
administration.
one.
By the
Right, it's
I-
completely in our
I'd
purview
ask
to do
the-
so.
I'd ask the members of the audience to please remain silent. There's been a time for public comment, and that time has concluded. So please remain respectful and give the board a time to speak. Thank you.
I'm not lying. So again, I'll just end with, again, we were elected and we are doing what we promised the community that we would do. So thank you to the community who.
I would add that unfortunately I did run with them and.
Right, except Ron.
Excuse me.
Ron's not fulfilling his promises. That's
Yes.
for sure.
My promises were parents over politicians, and I am standing behind that. They are not They're following the
Great.
politicians. They are not listening to
Flip-flopper.
the parents.
Flip-flopper.
Oh, here comes the interrupter again. No, I'm not
You
a
interrupted me.
flip-flopper.
You interrupted me.
I'm still true to what we were going to expand civics.
What?
No, we took credits
What?
away. So there are many things. Take a look at the slogan. I can send it to you
I'll
again.
send it to you. I'll bring it. The next meeting, we'll make it transparent.
You're-
Put it up there. Go point by point.
Go
Where
ahead, keep
you
going.
haven't.
Yes, you're
You
right.
haven't. And we were the suckers to run with you.
Ooh. Oh, this is an honorable friend.
Again, members of the audience, please.
I second that, Megan.
There was, all those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, hold on. I have to announce, an executive session was held on May 8th, 2023, that is incorrect. Thank you. To discuss participating in a class action lawsuit, update on negotiations, and update on negotiations. The next school board meeting is scheduled for Monday, June 12th, 2023. Mr. Clement.